Go.
Hey there, everybody, and welcome to my domain. This is everything animated. You didn't think you'd hear that opening again? My gosh, that was so cheesy back then. It's still cheesy now. I'm your host, Zach, also known as Everything Animated. I am joined today with two very special guests. I have here who is the lover of seas. He's tactical as always. He enjoys the ocean quite a lot. He's Mr. Sea Tactics.
I like to feel the coarse sand running through my toes as I stroll on the beach in the morning.
And my other host, he's some people call him a savage. He's a very mean-spirited guy. Not really. He's very nice. Don't let the name bother you or anything. He is Satsuki, the Randy Savage. Say hello.
Yeah, hello.
How did I know he was gonna say
What's
it like
up?
that? I just knew you were gonna say it like that. But hey, that's a wonderful way to introduce this show. My teen romantic comedy, SNAFU. It's got so many different names. It's also known as My Youth Romantic Comedy is Wrong as I Expected. And there's also a shorter version of it. It's called OreGairu?
OreGairu?
OreGairu? Something like that. I don't know. But I don't let the name basically throw you off because I personally think it's one of the better, if not one of the best kind of slice of lives. But let me just go over a little synopsis over here. This show basically revolves around our main guy, Hachiman Hikigaya. He's probably one of the better main characters, if not the best main characters out of any slice of life. He's a high school student, and it's basically almost like real life. Nothing is over accentuated and nothing's overdone. It's more grounded and very real, and almost like harshly real, to the point where you feel connected to the main character so much, especially if that's how high school was for you. He's a part of, what is it called, the service club, and he's
Yes.
he's basically forced to join after writing an essay, basically, making fun of how high school life is. And the teacher, what's the teacher's name?
Teacher boobs.
Her name is Hiratsuka. Is that her name?
It is Hiratsuka. Man, you're good with names. I'm so bad with names. But yeah, she basically says, okay, you're going to be in the service club as punishment. And Hachiman's just like, I don't want any of this because I already hate high school. I don't want to keep this facade going. And who do we meet the first time? It's none other than Yukino Shita. And we pretty much see her, and she's just as normal. Well, not as normal, but pretty much like Hachiman, with the whole way that he thinks about high school and people, and just very honest and brash. And then slowly after that, we're introduced to almost like a polar opposite, is Yui Hama. And she is very bubbly, very sweet. And very first episode, she's trying to get not introduced, but trying to make cookies. And I guess that's how we're introduced to her. And Hachiman, we get to see what kind of person he really is when he breaks it down. He's very, just how he just breaks everything down, and just his monologues are probably what make the show the best. So I guess I know that was pretty long, but in the short of it, long story short, this is probably one of the better slice of lives, and it's about, it's about high school and about the harshness of it and how friendships can deteriorate over a period of time. What did you guys? What was your impressions of this show?
Well, I first watched this show when it was airing. and both seasons, apparently. I don't remember much about the second season, but apparently I've seen it. It's very confusing. And when I first watched it, I was in high school, and there were some things that I caught onto and things I related to in high school. And now, years later, now that I'm out of high school, there are things that I didn't notice about the anime and different things I connected to. For example, like I used to like Yukino quite a bit when I was still in high school when I was watching this anime. But now, years later, I'm like, I feel like I wouldn't get along with that character. For Hachiman, I feel almost like I can relate a lot to Hachiman, and I think most people who watch this anime could. I don't think that's that's some big statement, but I feel like almost at the same time, like it's like watching a guy like at the start go down this path. It's so wrong, and then near the end, he's kind of like going down the right path, and it's kind of awesome to see him not be just the super mega lonely loser by the end of it. And Yui, she's cool. I mean, I've always liked Yui, and the teacher is pretty funny. I don't know. I like this anime quite a bit, especially we're talking about season 1.
I was gonna say, yeah. Just to reiterate, this is season 1. We'll be talking about season 2 another time.
Well, in the second half of this video.
Right. Sorry. Second half of this video.
What did you think, Satsuki?
Oh man, when I first watched this show, I'm pretty sure I was still in high school. I think this show aired when
2013.
13, okay. And I watched it. I wasn't watching it when it was airing, so I probably watched it around like 2014, sometime like that. And I was hooked by the show immediately. And I think one thing people always say is that they can relate to Hachiman. And with that, I relate to him because I'm somewhat of a loner as well. Not to the degree of because I think nobody can truly relate to Hachiman, or if you can, it's only a select few because he's really special. Because I think it takes a lot of courage to speak his mind the way he does. But yeah, that's what hooked me with the show, because with slice of life shows, you usually don't get a main character like him, and then you throw all these other characters into the mix. You have their teacher Hiratsuka, you have Yukino, which I didn't like Yukino. It was actually the opposite of what C-Tactics was feeling, because I didn't like Yukino the first time I watched this show, but the second rewatch, I actually liked her a lot more than I did initially. And Yui stayed great through both of my watchings. And I don't know, just for me, I really love the characters. I love the story. Can't get it too far since we're only talking about season 1. And also, yeah. Oh yeah, forgot second half of the show. But yeah, I just like the show, and the rewatch has been great for me. Just getting refreshed and remembering everything that happened.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I think we can all agree that this is a pretty special show. I guess what really makes the show what it is the characters themselves. And yeah, I guess we can just move on into the characters. Let's just talk about the main guy, Hachiman, Hikigaya. He's very blunt in whatever he says. He's a loner. He's got, as they portrayed him as in the show. He's got very dead fish eyes. He's just very cold. Yeah, I think that this is a guy who had a lot of hopes and dreams when he was in middle school, but because you saw like maybe the little subtleties in there, just the being rejected, being made fun of, just kind of being ignored, that he just really just became this empty shell of a guy, just like, I don't even care about people anymore. I'm just here going through high school, just doing this thing called life.
I want to ask you guys a question about Hachiman. I kind of feel Hachiman is a little bit of an unrealistic character, and it's simply because of the fact that this guy is going through high school with literally no friends. And to me, in my experience, this may just be a Japanese school thing, I don't know, but I was kind of the same way Hachiman was in high school. I wouldn't talk to anyone, but people would come up to me and talk to me, because I guess they just wanted to talk to me. And I don't know what makes people not want to do that. Like, what do you have to do to literally to be completely alone and have literally no friends? And I mean, sure, Hachiman's got an attitude, but as you saw, Yui and Yukino were totally fine with that. So it begs the question, like, is this kind of just like one of those things where it suited the story and that's just the way it was written that way, rather than being a realistic telling of this character? Because I don't feel like he would get through a month without having at least one friend.
I mean, go ahead.
Okay, you see, like, that's what I was saying. Like, I think people relate to him only in the fact that some people watching the show were loners. But yeah, I agree with you. It's unrealistic to some degree, because it's very severe with him. Like, it's super severe. And that's why I say he's a special case. And he's also a special case because even though he's a loner and he doesn't have any friends, he's actually very nice, because he will more often than not take one for the team.
Yeah, he sacrifices himself pretty much.
Yeah, and he'll always play these villainous roles so people will actually do what they're supposed to do. So I do think he's a very special character. That's why I say, if someone is saying they totally relate to Hachiman, then they must be a very special person, because I don't think he can fully relate to everybody.
Yeah.
Well, I guess touching on that, yeah, Hachiman doesn't have any friends at the beginning, but as you can see, because his teacher basically is putting him into the service club, and even though he didn't want to end up being around people, he did end up being around people. So even though I guess there's no clear-cut case, or if he even says that they're good friends to him and whatnot, at the end, yeah, he wasn't totally alone, because he has these two girls as, I guess, as clan friends, classmates,
clan members.
I mixed my words.
It works either way.
But I guess what I'm trying to say is he did eventually end up having friends. So I think in a way that makes him more real too, is the fact that he was this self-deprecating person and always sacrificing his feelings for others. But he still ended up being with people, and people, in this season started talking to him.
Yeah,
don't know if they'd be considered being friends, but
right.
They still acknowledge him, even if they call him the wrong name.
I also think that's also, like, Hachiman is this guy who I feel like he's self-deprecating, and he cuts himself a little bit short because I think he has a lot of values that a lot of people would really like, and I think that he would have tons of friends if he just came out of a shell and started being just a tad bit more social. I mean, we see what happened when he went into the service club. He became friends with these two girls who, by the end of the show, mean very much to him, and he got to meet all of these pretty, like, say what you will, they're pretty cool people like Tobey and Ebona and all of these like cool little side characters that are honestly add so much to the show. And of course he met Totsuka, which is like his
lover.
His crush, who is a trap. But I mean,
most convincing trap ever, by the way. It actually looks like a guy, but has feminine features versus just being a woman and having a penis.
Oh yeah, I dislike that, and yeah, I think Hachiman. I think where people relate to him the most is his backstory, which is just brutal. To like it's kind of, they play it up comedically, and this is what I like about it. They play it up comedically because that's how he kind of saw it, almost as like, haha.
He's self-deprecating. Yep.
Yeah, but in reality, like on the outside looking in, if you kind of think about it, those flashbacks are like incredibly depressing. This guy was like bullied. He was just unlucky and had a really bad experience, and because of that, he went into this cocoon and was like, I ain't coming out ever. And because of that, that's the way Hachiman is now. He's very in his own mind a lot of the times. He's very smart, and I think that's just because he has so much time to himself. He's probably like, I have more time to do many things now, so I'm just going to do what I want. Yeah,
he's a lot better than most main characters, that's for sure, because he's a character. He's not a walking trope or stereotype of what a main character should be.
Right, and he's and a lot of people will relate to him, and I do get that, but he is totally not a generic high school MC who's a loner type. He feels much more than that.
Yeah. And that's why I personally think he's one of the best. Let's see. We have our two other main characters. I'm sorry. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, how about Yukino?
Yeah, our two other main characters. We have Yukino. Start off with her. She's pretty much not exactly like Hachiman, but she's definitely got the same philosophies as him.
Yeah.
She's very brash, very true. By
the end of this series, you kind of know it's the one, right, for Hachiman, and it just makes so much sense to me. And initially it didn't, and this whole season 1, I was like, man, Yukino's kind of weird in this season. You get some interesting moments with her, but she's kind of this really uptight girl who's very prim and proper, and she's just elegant in almost every way, and she's always basically doing the same thing Hachiman is always doing. She's kind of like the female version of Hachiman without the inner monologue. Like, this is like what Hachiman would look like to me if, like, instead of, Yukino was our main character, and it was trying to figure out Hachiman. She's super just interesting in that way, and she's kind of like a mystery throughout most of the series until little ways through season 2. And that's kind of what I like about her character is initially, like, I don't want to say you hate her or anything like that, but it's like you don't know much about her. She's kind of got this weird attitude. She's got so many layers, and it takes a while to unravel those layers. And the more we learn about these other characters like Yui and and all the other ones, it kind of unravels a little bit more of Yukino, which is one of the things I really like about her character.
Sasuke?
Yeah, going into that, what I liked about Yuki is like what you guys already said, like she's like a mirror of Hachiman. And you wouldn't think that just by looking at her, and that was done intentionally. It was like to kind of subvert our expectations, because just looking at her, she's like pretty. You would think that, well, not you would think, she has good grades. So you would think that she would be super popular, and she is, because everybody knows her, but she's still a loner because, just like Hachiman, she didn't have any friends. And it was funny in the first episode where Hachiman straight up asked her, "Do you have any friends?" And then she went into that explanation, and then Hachiman just cut her off and said, "Stop right there. Like, I already know how that whole thing works."
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's the weird thing about it, because they always go back and they always bicker, but it's weird because they both hold each other in this high respect, because they both say what's on their mind despite what anybody thinks. So I find her pretty cool. And like I said before, initially I didn't like her the first time I watched this show. The second time around, I really liked her because she overcame a lot of stuff. Season 1, we don't get that much of her family troubles, but you can see like glimpses of it. And they went through how she got bullied because of her looks and because of her grades and all of that. So now she didn't go through like the whole rejection stuff like Hachiman, but I think her story is pretty cool too, about what she had to go through to get where she got to.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
All right,
I
on
think
to, you go ahead.
there's so much that I could talk about Yukino. I'm trying to remember. There's something I wanted to say, but I can't remember right now. But like, Yukino is she's just, to me, when I see her in like a scene and she's sitting at that table, it almost looks like she has this wall up around herself, and I think that's kind of brilliant, the way that you kind of envision that, where you see her and she looks like this impenetrable fortress of just like, she's just the perfect person, right? But in reality, and this is what I really wanted to say, but like, Yukino is a person who had her whole life chosen for her, and Hachiman is a person who chose it himself. And that's what I like about those two characters' dynamics, is she didn't have a choice in who the person she was. Everything is decided for her. She likes to talk as if she knows a lot, but deep down she knows, and everyone else in her family knows, that she is this person who really has like a prisoner to her own family in that sense. And because of that, she's not friends with anyone. She has no one, special to her besides her family. And I think that's rather interesting, because with Hachiman, it's the complete opposite. He just chose not to do it. He was ostracized in middle school and younger than that, but he could have turned that around for himself. Whereas Yukino, it would have been a little bit more difficult, because as we see in season 2, it doesn't work the same way for Yukino. And I think that's an important thing to like comment on, because I think it's just a great thing about Yukino's character, and it really shows like, yeah, they're mirror opposites, and they're in those ways, but they're also mirrored in yeah, they've both been bullied. They both have these, strong kind of thick skin, and they both speak this, kind of in a monotone way, and it's great. It's good. It's good character writing.
I was gonna say that's what makes this show all the much more amazing is the fact that, yeah, they're well written characters. They're characters with, definitions and meanings behind them, as instead of just dumb shit. On to the next main character, we have Yui Hama, which is literally, like, as I said before, like the polar opposite of pretty much everybody in this in the main three.
I think the whole series. I think she's kind of unique to everyone else.
Mm-hmm. She's just got this absolutely bubbly personality. She's very sweet as far as, sounding, a nice girl, as as Hachiman put it in, I think it was episode 5. Yeah, probably one of my favorite things from this episode was, when Hachiman was saying that she was being really nice to him. He didn't like that at all, and so he kind of, because he's very, he likes to be in his own shell and likes to push people away. He doesn't want to let them in. He said, if you're doing this just to be nice because of what happened the first day of school, which on the first day of school he got hit by a car trying to save her dumbass dog, which, by the way, she needs to invest in a better leash because that dog got away way too many times. And he just basically said, if you're just doing this just to be nice to me, then just stop, okay? And then he goes into this absolutely incredible monologue, basically saying, just because, these women act nice to you, they're not just being, they're nice to everybody. It's not just you. And that false, I guess, like, feeling to where you think that you're special. You're not special deep down, and that's why he says that he hates nice girls. And I remember seeing that episode and I went, God, I so can relate to that, because I've been there where I thought someone liked me for who I was. She was just being nice. She's just a nice girl.
Yeah, and that's Yui's. Yui is a great example of a nice girl. I think she's like, she's so unique in this series because everyone else in this series kind of puts up these, besides like Yukino and Hachiman to some extent, puts up these like almost these like walls of, they're trying to be someone else. They're trying to appeal to someone else or something like that. But Yui, she does kind of the same thing, but I think she's like the most real character in this story, because I feel like the way she talks to people and the way her character develops and what she does and how she acts, and I think it's totally realistic, and I think she's like the good person of this series, if that makes sense. She's kind of like the lawful good. She's the moderator of the three in the group, and she's just got such an interesting feel to her. I think we all know a Yui. Like,
oh yeah.
And I think that shows how good the writing for this series was and how good the author did on the original light novels, because almost immediately you know a Yui. Like, once you see this character and once you start to see her kind of develop a little bit, she, on the surface, seems like you kind of know everything about her. And then once you get more into her, it's like, oh, like, she's kind of like, not everything in her life is perfect. She's just a normal person who's just trying to be normal. And that's what I like about Yui. She doesn't, push things away. She doesn't reject things. She just kind of accepts it for what it is and moves along, and I think that's a great thing about her character.
Absolutely.
All right,
Shots
so
okay.
talking about Yui, I think I like her in a show because of Hachiman and Yukino, because usually I don't like characters with Yui's personality, but I think in this show it works so well because of how Hachiman and Yukino are, because she's like she's so different from them. Like she's literally like a polar opposite of Yukino. So their conversations are always funny. Her and Hachiman's conversations are always funny. Um, it's just like, for example, when you have Yui and her other clique with Yumiko and Hayama, like she starts talking different. She always says like that.
Oh
That's that's the thing. They use the word like so much. It's crazy. Uh, but yeah, that's the thing about it, because once she's in that clique, then it's like, okay, now she's like a basic character. But when she links up with Hachiman and Yukino, that's when I like her. That that's the thing about this show, or about Yui. She works so well in the show with those two characters. I think just the dynamic between her and everybody else is perfect.
Absolutely. And I think she worries, I'm talking about Yui, worries a lot about what other people think. She definitely, is about looks, because this is high school we're talking about, of course. A lot of people worry about that stuff. But I think she can be herself when she's with those two, just because of how, I guess, real and down to earth they are. Some of the funniest stuff is, as you said, when they're interacting together. I don't know a guy who can call a woman a bitch like 3 or 4 times, and yet she still likes him. He just calls her this, and she just gets so mad and like, not a bitch, I'm a, you know what? Never mind. But
Yeah, I think that also goes to show, like, when Yui likes someone, like, you can do a lot, right? And she'll be totally fine with it.
yeah, throughout this season, we're basically introduced to a whole bunch of other like side supporting characters. I'm not going to go over each individual one and whatever, but you pretty much know them. You got the dashing blonde Hayato. You got
Tobey.
You got Tobey, who's all into boys love. You got Komachi, which is his sister, which I'm so glad they did this. He doesn't love his sister.
Yeah.
He even says so when he's like talking. He's like, when I just see my sister, I just see her as that, my sister. Nothing else. And I'm like, thank you. We have Kawasaki. Is it the one with the really long gray hair? With that one episode, I feel like we barely get to see this character that much. She's in it.
True.
Yumiko, the blonde bitch that you like, Satsuki.
I actually ended up liking Yumiko by the end of the series. I thought she was really
I was about
good.
to say I don't like her.
Oh crap! Wrong person. That was you.
Yeah, it was me.
C Tactics. My bad. I'm sorry. Wasn't you? Didn't mean to throw you under the bus. Then we have what is it? Tosca. Who,
yeah.
like I said, the most convincing trap, in my opinion. Like just really well done.
It's Surumi, Rumi, and Haruno.
Rumi.
That's the rest of them.
Yeah, but all of them serve their own purpose. Each one of them has their own unique personalities, and overall, I couldn't see the show without them, because even though they're side and supporting characters, they really, make it their own. Oh, and then of course there's Yukino's sister, Hirano, who's nice in the first season, but in the second season kind of takes a turn.
Haruno in the second season is crazy, but we'll talk about that in the second half of this video.
Exactly.
I mean, my favorite, I think, one of my favorite things in this whole anime, now that we're kind of transitioning out of characters, sorry, just gotta talk about this, is the episode with Surumi Rumi. What did you guys think about this episode? I loved it. I loved how the episode developed and how it's almost like kind of like a backstory. It functioned as a backstory for both Yukinoshita and Hachiman, while at the same time introducing this little supporting character that is even in season 2 and kind of plays almost the same role in season 2. What you guys think about this character, and more importantly, that?
I think this character is almost, in a way, a little version of Hachiman, like before he became cynical and all of the things that he is now. A loner. Like, I think he even sees that in her. Like, he sees her and it's like, oh, she's almost in a way like he's so supportive to basically try to end the friendship between him and her and her little group of friends, I guess. And I thought that was, what was it, 2 episodes? I think it was a 2-episode arc, maybe 3. But it was a really nice sort of mini arc of how that happened. It also showed how Hachiman deals with things, just with the whole, severing things off, cutting it off, pulling up from the roots and just killing it. I thought that was really well done.
And I liked how in the second episode of this mini arc, it is 2 episodes, in the second episode dedicated to this character, the way Hachiman goes about dealing with these girls kind of bullying Rumi and ostracizing her from the group is he's like, I'm just gonna make them all like turn on each other. And then he just gets like a bunch of like Tobei and what's Yumiko, I believe, and they just like bully these kids. And Rumi is just like super calm, like, what the fuck's going on here? And she's already like thinking of ways to like solve these issues, and these girls are freaking out, and they're like, you got to pick 3 of you, and I think there's 5 of them. And the first one they pick to stay is Rumi, and by the end of it, they all start fighting each other, and Rumi just takes their hands. Couple of them, I think, and they run away. And I think that was a pretty cool episode, because, and a good ending to her arc, because while it didn't solve the issue, as we learned in season 2, it really helped with, I think, how those girls viewed Rumi as a person afterwards. And I think it helps Rumi as well, because Rumi kind of played the hero in that scene, and I think it was just a good climax to her arc, and we got to see kind of like a different side, like the first kind of side of Hachiman, where he's kind of like almost ruthless in the way that he kind of goes about his plans to do whatever it is he wants to do. This is one of the times I don't think he puts himself, in the role of a villain, but behind the scenes, he's kind of like the director of this whole thing, and it's brilliant. I mean, it really is. It's a brilliant couple episodes. Very fun to watch.
For me, this Surumi arc, I love the ending of it, because it wasn't anything cliche whatsoever. Like, when the part where you see Surumi walk right past Hachiman, and you were supposed to expect her to thank him for, breaking up her friends and all of that, but she walks right past them, and then Yukino goes up to Hachiman and is like, you're never going to be thanked for the stuff you do like that, right? And that, not only that part, but talking before that, where you have people like Hayama trying to deal with Surumi, and then Hachiman is having his inner monologue, and he's thinking to himself, why does Surumi have to change to the world? That's kind of like giving up. And that's what I liked about this art, because it told us a lot about Hachiman and why he never really changes, because he doesn't believe that he needs to change to conform to other people's ideals and things like that. So yeah, Surumi's like a mini Hachiman, I guess you could say. And it's kind of cool how he had a chance to shape how she was going to grow up, and he just chose to basically not do anything.
Yeah, it's really, I just love this show. just the realness of it. It's so well done. Let's see, memorable episodes. That was a memorable episode. Does anybody have any like really like their favorite kind of episodes?
Episode 12.
Yeah, I was about to say
Oh my
episode
gosh.
12.
Episode 12 is that's a really good one. Let's talk about episode 12. Just it's a festival. This one girl has I guess she's made to be in charge of the whole thing, and she's way over her head. You know, we can all relate, you know, people doing extra work and she's just taking the glory, looking good. But
Not like me at all.
yeah, seriously. but yeah, and then pretty much Hachiman has to be the bad guy, because that's the only thing he knows how to do. He has to, you know, come out as, you know, because I'm trying to remember, like, the friends were the ones that were like, they had a problem with it. And it's like, we don't want to say it, but because it's you can say it. So of course he just flat out is just like, fine, I'll do what I have to do. And then blonde good looking boy, he's like, why do you always have to be the odd man out, or why do you always have to be the bad guy? And then that's when Hachiman's saying, because that's who I am. I am the bad guy.
I am the danger.
I just love that. I love how the teacher kind of like had a little talk, like carrying a little talk with him at the end, saying, you don't always have to be that person. You don't always have to put yourself in harm's way for others, you know, because you need to think about what other people think of you doing that. It's not just you anymore. And I love that.
I like...
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I like how Hachiman kind of guilts her into, like, doing it. Did you guys notice that? Like,
yeah.
He's like, you gotta do this. And she's like, she's getting angry. And I love that. I love... Hachiman is just... If it's for the better good, he will do it. If it means sacrificing himself for seemingly the most... Like this... I mean, it's a cultural festival. It's a big deal. But, like, you know... Stuff that I personally would be like, man, I wouldn't get in the middle of that. But Hachiman puts himself in the middle of that, and he does whatever is possible. He plays whatever role that needs to be played to get the job done. And I guess that's a concept that carries through the whole series with Hachiman, and it's a big part of Hachiman's character, but I really loved it in this episode. This is the height of that in the first season, I think.
Absolutely.
One thing I liked, that when I first watched this episode and you had Hachiman basically grill this girl, I forget her name, when he when he went on about how she just wanted to be found, how she was being a drama queen and all of that. And after she left, and then you had Hayama who grabbed him by the collar and was like yelling at him. At first, I didn't like that scene because I'm thinking to myself, well, Hachiman is telling the truth. But the second time watching it, I'm thinking more of Hayama wasn't mad because he wasn't necessarily mad because of what Hachiman said to this girl. He was more mad, just like what the teacher said later in the episode, that Hachiman was playing the villain role again, and now he's going to be disliked by everybody because by the end of the episode, nobody liked Hachiman except for, of course, Yui, Yukino, and his circle, basically. And I found that kind of interesting because I didn't like Hayama, but I'm just watching the episode again and knowing some of the stuff that happens in season 2. I'm like, Hayama kind of cared for, or he was thinking about Hachiman's well-being in that scene, and I didn't pick up on that the first time around.
Hayama, it feels like Hayama really wants, in some respects, to almost be friends with Hachiman. At least that's kind of what I'm getting.
Yeah, but he can't because
he's
Mr. Popular.
Right. I feel like in any other world, I feel like they would be way more friendly to each other, but they're not opposites. They're just they think similarly enough to, I think, they would align on so many things.
Yeah, and I agree with you with that, and I think it's mainly because he's Mr. Popular, he can't say what's on his mind. And I think he even mentioned that he's like, I'm super jealous of you for that, Hachiman, the fact that you can be yourself. And that's just him basically saying, I can't be who I want to be. I have to be what everyone else wants me to be because that's who I am to these people. And yeah, I honestly think that they would probably be closer friends if that wasn't the case. Like maybe after high school and, you know, where the clicks didn't matter.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well,
episode 12 was great, though.
Episode 12 was amazing.
Great.
Yeah. Okay, I think I want to touch on, I guess, basically the art style of this show. I think, you know, this season versus second season, it's got a nice little charm to it. It's very... This is made by, let's see, Brian's Base. What are they famous for? They've done a whole bunch of other...
Brian's Base.
They do Durarara, Bakano. Oh, they do some of my favorites. My Little Monster. Okay. Bless you. But, yeah, they do some really good artworks here, and I don't know. Did you guys think anything special about the art about this? I thought Hachiman really looked like a dead fish when the season. Like he really like that mean, nasty guy.
Well, I think comparing both of the seasons, I think there's not one that I like more. I think both have their own certain aspects. I think in terms of the character designs, I probably prefer Brains Base designs over Feels designs because I like how they look more like a light novel, and Feel made them feel looking characters. And this just it felt like it was a more accurate representation artistically of what I think, or what the light novel actually looks like, and it's kind of rough around the edges almost, but not really. And I don't know, I like that. And yeah, Hachiman's dead fish eyes were really unique about that character, and the same with his sister as well.
Yeah.
I also think some characters straight up just look better in Brains Base. Like, I like the way Haruno looks way more than in the Feel, because I think in Feel she kind of blends in a little bit too much and looks a little too much same-facey for my taste.
I think for me, I prefer and I haven't even rewatched second season, so which that'll happen in the second half of the video, but
second half.
but I think I prefer the character designs in the second season. And when I first watched this, I don't know what was wrong with my eyes at the time, but I didn't even notice a change. I don't know how like far apart I watched the first season from the second season, but I did not notice the change until probably a year after I watched the show. I was like, wait a minute, these characters look hella different. What happened? Like, what happened? But yeah, I don't have much to say about it. I prefer the second seasons, but I don't think anything was wrong with the first seasons at all. In fact, I think it's good. It's just I like the second season's character design better.
Mm-hmm.
I think Yukino looks better in the second season.
Oh my gosh, he does. All of them look better. Hell, even Hachiman doesn't have dead fish eyes anymore in the second season. He actually looks handsome. But yeah, this is. I think it's got its nice little charm with it. The animation style. What am I gonna touch on next? The music. What'd y'all think of the intro and the outros?
I thought the singing could have been better for the opening.
Oh yeah.
I thought the singing tonally did not fit with what the music, the instrumental was doing. I think there was a little bit of tonal differences, and it felt like the voice actress for Yukino was almost like way close to her mic, and the gain for her mic was a little bit too high. Not too much, not enough to like make it noticeably different. But for anyone like myself, who has been musically trained, I know immediately her voice sounds off. It almost sounded like she woke up in the morning and didn't have enough practice. I don't know what was happening in the recording booth, but when Yui's voice comes in, it's fine. It's just her voice actress. It doesn't happen in the second season.
She needed to have some coffee.
She needed some seltzer water. And the ending's fine. But I had issues with the opening because I thought the singing was just it was off. The chorus for the song is fine. The chorus is good. It's just the verse and the pre-chorus are just. I don't know what was going on there. I don't know if it was separate takes. I don't know if she got a cold a couple weeks before, but she not peak performance for her.
Well, me talking about it, coming from a novice, I'm not a music guy whatsoever, but I have a collection of openings I like, and I like both of the openings for the show, both of them. I prefer the second season's opening, but I like this one as well. I can't really say much about it. I can't go into details. It's one of those openings I really enjoy.
Alrighty. I guess with that, let's give our overall final thoughts on the first season of SNAFU. I'll let you guys go first, and I'll save mine for the last.
I think when I reviewed this for Anime Friday in the first season, way back in the day when I was first starting reviewing anime, I think I gave this an 8 out of 10. If I was doing it now, that score would be a lot higher. And I don't do scores anymore, so I'm not going to score this. But I will say this. Before this, my favorite slice of life was Hyoka. And straight after season 1, it became pretty hard to say Hyoka was my best, but we'll save what now I think about SNAFU in the second half of this video. But I'm just going to say, after season 1, Hyoka struggling to keep that top spot for me.
For me, okay, I think I'm gonna have to rate this show higher. Just like I had this show as an 8 out of 10, but this show is great. I would put it at a 9 out of 10. As for where it ranks, just in slice of life genre, are we counting Hinamatsuri as a slice of life?
I think it's a comedy. By the way, Hinamatsuri, same studio who did season 2.
Yes. Okay. If we're not counting Hinamatsuri as a slice of life, I think this show is the best slice of life anime. If we are counting Hinamatsuri though, then man, I don't know. But it's definitely up there for sure. No doubt in my mind.
All right. My overall opinion, I went into the show long time ago, back when I had all the time in the world to watch anime, with very low expectations. All I did was see the cover of it and heard nothing else of it. Heard no reviews, no nothing. I gave everything a shot back then, even if the cover looks stupid. Because the cover, it's just the two girls, and then Hachiman's in the background just begging for attention, like, hey, what about me? And I saw this, and I was immediately hooked after the first episode, because I've never seen real writing as far as like characters for a show where, I mean, don't get me wrong, I've seen other shows, but what I mean is like slice of life, because I came off of really bad slice of lives back in the day, you know, the Melancholia Susumiya, you know, all of those really bad ones where I'm like, oh, so this is slice of life. It has nothing to do with real high school. It's just an abstract thought of what high school should be, and it never will be. But this show, especially after I watched the first season, I said, this is the realest I've ever seen, and this is the most convincing as far as high school goes. And I can relate to the themes. I can relate to Hachiman quite a bit. I can relate to quite a bit of just all the different things that was done throughout this show. And I was genuinely impressed. And I remember when you could leave comments on the, or you could probably still leave comments on the Crunchyroll ad videos. I remember typing one just like, yeah, this is a wonderful show, probably one of the best. It was the top liked. And that was the first time I ever got on there on Crunchyroll. But this show is like, I'm specifically talking for season 1. It's a good show. It's a really good show. And I liked it so much I bought it just to support it, because animes don't get supported as much unless it's like mostly streaming. But I bought it because I liked it so much, and it's definitely one of my favorites. Season 1, definitely really good. All right, we are now on to season 2 of My Teen Romantic Comedy SNAFU.
It's a snafu indeed.
Yes. When I first heard that they were even making a season 2, I was elated. I was literally just like, the shows that I like never get season 2s at all. But I was immediately turned off by the fact that it was made by a different company. Originally, it was Brian's Base. Season 2 turned into Feel. And their track record consists of Kiss,
the lovely now Hinamatsuri, but then not.
Yeah, then it wasn't. Some masochist one where the guy gets hit all the time called Dakara Bowa H Ga, or whatever the hell that is. Outbreak Company, which is also terrible. Something called Kids, I Am Your Father, and it's a lolicon one. Needless to say, they didn't have a good track record, and I was immediately... Oh, and they did Island too, by the way, even though that was...
Let's not pretend they did that.
Yeah, they did that after the fact, but yeah, I was, like I said, I was very nervous, had a lot of reason to be, but needless to say, after everything was all said and done, I think this is one of Feel's best, definitely best animated shows that they've done for that company.
Too bad Hinamatsuri has taken the crown.
This isn't about Hinamatsuri.
It is now. Let's talk about Anzu Matsuri. Satsuki.
That's my daughter.
I was God. You guys are derailing this show. Well, a huge difference between season 2 and season 1 is how it looks. Like it's drastically different. In my opinion, I think it. Well, let me get your guys' opinion first. What do you guys think of how the second season looks versus first season?
I definitely like how the art in the second season more than first season. Yeah, the funny thing is the first time I watched the second season is I didn't notice an art change. I don't know what I was looking at, but I prefer the second season. Nothing's wrong with the first season, but I just like how the second season looks.
Weird deja vu right now. Did we talk about this before? I'm pretty.
I mean,
I
don't know either.
I think
all I know is that I personally, like you said, Sasuke, I like it better than the first season. I never thought they could make the characters that I already love look even more like attractive. they look
yes,
just that much better. And
I see where your attention span went, sir.
Well, I can't deny and say that I couldn't find them that way, because in the first season I was already hooked on by these characters, and in the second season it was even more so. I was just like, wow, it's even more. But I almost wish that they could have kept Hachiman's look, just because, he looks too pretty for season 2. He needs to look more sulky and more dead fish eyes, like grumpy.
I got the sense he wasn't exactly an ugly person. Even from looking at the light novel stuff, it looked like he wasn't totally unattractive.
His eyes just made him scary.
I think it's just the art style that makes him look more attractive naturally. I don't think there is a weird disconnect there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree
if you look between, like I said, if you basically put them side by side, it's like a huge difference from how he looks season 1 to season 2.
Feel has this more rounded kind of like art style. That's kind of like how they that's how they look very distinct, like with how they proportion their characters' faces. It looks like all of them in every anime looks super round and almost like 60s kind of, cartoonish, like Acme or whatever, like Tom and Jerry, which I love that. And they definitely carried their kind of own presentation over into this, while still, for me, it still retained a lot of what kept it what it was, and there were some instances where I did feel things looked a bit differently. For example, in the beginning, I didn't really like Yukino's design. I thought in the first season she looked the best, but in the second season they add her hair gets much like more puffier, more bigger, I guess. And in the front, it's more like all ruffled up and stuff like that. She's got more bangs, and I initially didn't like that. I was like, that looks weird compared to season 1. And then as I started watching it more and more, I was like, why? That doesn't look too bad. I think Yui looked fine either way. Yui, I think for the most part, I think all that happened with her is it seemed like she just got a bunch of, she just got shinier. Like, that's what she looked like to me. She just got really shiny and pink.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, that's totally fine. And, I think they changed Haruno's character design almost completely. And I actually don't like Haruno's character design in Season 2. I like her design much more in Season 1. Just because I think she looks way more like Yukino than really to both versions of Yukino than in Season 2, where she has that purple, highlight at the end of the hair to distinguish them from each other. The way they had her character originally was was fine to me. I thought it was the best version, and I thought it was kind of misguided to change her character design like that. But that may be a controversial opinion. She's attractive either way. Don't get me wrong, guys. But I think Haruno was way better first season.
I agree. She was nicer in the first season. Then in the second season, she just became a complete bitch for some reason. It's like, wow, okay, completely different. But yeah, it's almost as if she was a completely different person in season 2. Almost cynical in a way, forcing Hachiman to go on that one date he didn't want to go on.
Yeah, she's kind of like in this season she plays the role kind of like of this necessary evil. Almost, it seems like she almost is playing God with these kids. Like, she's making them do stuff that they don't want to do. She's playing almost like trying to manufacture something. And she's always like, you gotta save Yukino when the time comes. And, of course, he's like,
right.
He's basically, he wants to say just like fuck off, but he knows she means... Like, she's getting at something there. And it just feels so much like she's so, in the second season, so manipulative, I guess.
Very much so.
It's like, remember that game where you play God, and you're just a big hand, and you pick people up and stuff like that?
Oh, Black and White.
Yeah, that's what it felt like in this. She felt very godlike in this universe.
That's crazy. All right. Speaking of characters, in this season, we are introduced to a brand new character by the name of Aroha. And I know we got opinions.
I have some things to say about Aroha. Let me just say, she's a pretty solid character. I enjoy her very much. But I know you weren't expecting that. I enjoyed her character pretty much throughout the whole series. I thought... she was a fine addition to the show. She made sense, introduced very naturally. Her dialogue's pretty decent character writing. I don't get the love for her. I don't get why people say she's the best character. I don't get why people say she made season 2 worthwhile. I thought she could have been removed and would have been just fine. Just fine.
Satsuki?
In defense of me and a Aroha cult, I would like to say that no, Aroha isn't the best character in the series.
What? Dun 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 dun.
Listen, I've never said that Aroha was the best character in the series. I said that she's my favorite girl in the series, and I still stand by that. But just in writing and everything that goes into a character, she's not as strong at all compared to Hachiman, Yui, and Yuki.
God, even Yui. I feel even Yui, and she's so much, just way more developed.
Yeah. And part of that, part of it is because I watched this years ago, so during that time, I didn't care about shit like good writing. So that's one thing. And the other thing is, it's kind of like a personal bias for me because I like mischievous characters. Roha kind of reminds me of Haruno just a little bit with their personalities. I think Haruno is much worse because Haruno takes it a step further than Roha does with how they manipulate situations. But
real quick,
yeah,
Haruno seems like she's using her adulthood and her experience over these youthful teenagers. Continue.
Yeah. Yeah, with Aroha, it's weird because she does what she does. It's like it's minimum. It's usually always something short term, like she'll use Hachiman because she needs to get something done with the student, the council, or she wants to use what's his name? Tobey, I think that's his name. Tobey to so that she can get closer to Ayama, but with Haruno, sometimes I have no clue what her goal is. Just comparing those two characters and their personality.
Yeah, I personally think that there's always a huge risk whenever you have a season 2 and you introduce a brand new character, because you already have these established characters that we know and love. And I've seen shows where they'll just add, like a little sister or like a younger whatever. There's examples out there, like Nezukoi and all that other stuff, where they just add these characters and they're just absolutely annoying, and you could not have them whatsoever. But I feel like when it comes to Roha, she definitely adds another dimension of Hachiman that it shows in season 2, where he's trying to help her become, I guess, like class president, because he's trying, I guess, to keep the whole, I guess, order of things. He doesn't want change. He's afraid of change. And then kind of blows up in his face. And I think she just kind of adds that another dimension to him, where it just shows where, when he's doing a balancing act with all these plates and they're spinning and whatnot, he just feels like he can do whatever. And then when he gets to the point where it's like he can't do it no more, it's like, well, what else do I have now? And I think, Roha is just, like you said, is mischievous. She's you can never know what's on her mind, just because she pretty much does what she wants and only cares about what she wants. But there was a couple episodes where it's like she's showing Yui and Yukino like pictures, and then for some reason she thought it would to show a picture of him or her and Hachiman in a photo. It's like, hey, how did that get in there? It's like, you know exactly what you're doing by putting that in there. She likes to stir the pot. She likes to get people jealous. She knows exactly what she is, even though it's fake. She shows her real self. You know what I mean? But okay, I guess going on to favorite episodes, and there's a lot of them, but I have one in particular that stands out. What are y'all favorite episodes in season 2?
All right, so I hope I don't steal your episode, but I believe it was episode 8. That was did I hit it on the mark? Was
You
that
sure did. You sure did.
I mean, that's one of the first ones that come to mind as well. So.
I was gonna say, go ahead.
Oh man,
I'll let you have it.
Yeah. Why am I forgetting her? Is it? Hell is her name? The teacher. I don't know why I'm forgetting her. Teacher Bob's. Let's go with that. That conversation was beautiful. Like, this show has a lot of great dialogue, but I think that one in particular stood out to me because it was just so real, and then you could relate to it. You could relate to it like in real life, like that. That's something that kind of connected with me. And for me, Teacher Bob's has been like the shadow MVP of the series because she's the one who put everything into motion.
Yeah.
And with that talk that she had with Hachiman, that made him realize that he needed to do something to keep the club together, because for the most part, Hachiman is super unselfish. He will always fall on the sword for the sake of other people, whether he admits that or not. He does it. And pretty much what I got from that conversation is that sometimes you have to be selfish, and the trying to play safe all the time isn't going to work, because in the end, if you're in a relationship with other people, hurting each other is going to be a part of it. no way to escape it. And after that talk, Hachiman changed a lot. I mean, he's been gradually changing as the episodes and seasons have gone on. But after that talk, I felt like Hachiman became a new character in a. But
Yeah.
that's my take on it.
You bring up the teacher and how she got everything together. You mentioned that how she kind of like she got the club together. She made them all basically become friends, which is a beautiful thing, and it got me thinking. She's the opposite of Haruno. Haruno is like this chaotic. I don't want to say evil, but chaotic neutral, and the teacher is this almost lawful good, where she, of course, she brought everybody together, but she's always giving helping advice. She's never kind of manipulating and twisting things to fit what she wants or whatever agenda she has. While Haruno is straight up, like openly to everyone who's watching the show from a viewer's perspective, just twisting and turning little things and pressing buttons here and pressing buttons there, and she knows exactly what she's doing. And I think that's a pretty cool thing. They're kind of like the opposite.
Yeah, I like that comparison. That's a good little description right there. I guess because Sasuke already said mine, I do have other ones, obviously, but another really good one of mine that I liked was it episode 2 or was it episode 3? It was the episode in which, Hachiman once again threw himself on the sword and, confessed to that one girl because it was the only way to basically kind of save the whole dynamic of those other guys' friends, because he was going to ruin it by asking her out. And then he just said, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to do it. And I guess it really showed how, I mean, again, this was, old Hachiman when he was still doing that stuff, but, Yukino and Yui were just very, they're very hurt and upset by that. They kind of reached the breaking point where they're like, I hate the way you do things. I hate that this is always your reaction to things. And Yukino, she was just very short with it and ran. But then Yui was very emotional by it and saying, you gotta think of other people's feelings before doing something like that. It's not always just you. And, at the end, what's her name? The one that he asked out, the one that's super obsessed with boys love. Yeah. Yeah. She met him up at the rooftop, basically, kind of in a sort of way thanking him because, she knew. But at the end, he's just like, I was just doing it just to save y'all. And, you don't need to thank me. And throughout the whole series, you kind of, until it got to episode 8, you kind of showed him, like people were trying to be nice to him. It was like, I don't need your pity. I don't need this. Just get away. I don't want it. But yeah, once he finally got up to episode 8, I honestly think this name of the show should be changed to what Hachiman said, which is something genuine. Because to me, that's a better title than My Teen Romantic Comedy SNAFU. That just doesn't quite roll off the tongue. But yeah, 3, I think it is, and 8 are definitely my favorites. But there's a whole bunch of other ones with the hand guy moving his hands really quick.
Rasengan, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh my God, that was like one of the best things about that whole arc was just this guy popping back up. I think he popped up later in the series too, where he always talks with his arms, and he kind of like Hachiman kind of picks it up a little bit. He like actually talks back at the guy with his arms moving and stuff after that, which I thought was like a really nice touch. Like he was like speak his language almost in hand signals. I think my episode's got to be the last episode of the season. I mean, I'm not a very sentimental person at all, but after that episode ended, I was like, man, wish I would have, appreciated it more. But the whole episode is basically Yukino, Yui, and Hachiman go out on a date, as friends, and they go to like an aquarium, and they have fun, and it's great, and they pretty much all know that at the end of the day, this is going to be one of the very last times that they will ever be together like that. Because moving forward, everything's going to change, and they want to cherish this last moment. And what makes this episode so good is the directing, the voice acting, really everything.
In season 2.
Really everything. This whole episode nailed just the whole presentation is perfect. But the music in this last episode is why this is my favorite episode of season 2. And I think it's funny how we all have like kind of like different favorite episodes for like various reasons, and most of our reasons so far have been story, but for me it was the music that sold the whole thing. I don't know who's doing the music for this. I think I searched up when I finished watching, but I can't remember the dude's name, and if I could, I would totally shout the guy out. But he perfect. At the very end of the episode, when they're all talking together, and Yui's like getting really emotional, and they don't want this moment to end, pretty much. They know that after this day, it's just gonna change. The music played up that scene perfectly. Every time, they all three of them got a couple moments to speak, like have their 2 cents, as it were. And for each one of them, they had this awesome music playing. And it was beautiful. And because of that, that scene meant so much more than it originally did. And I don't think it's commended enough how great music can make a scene, how it could make or break a scene. Like, especially the right kind of music. I mean, this scene, in my opinion, could have worked without music, and it would have been really... I don't think it would have given the right emotion, but I think it would have given it a very intense feeling, I think, and it would have been fine. But I think with this kind of music, the person who wrote it and composed it and put it in here, and how they did it, it conveyed perfectly what I believe this scene was trying to get across, which is like friendship and like genuine love for your friends, like for your close friends. And it represented, this whole scene kind of represented, it built, everything built up to the first moments, when Hachiman and Yukino met, and then when Yui came along, and all of their, things they had in between all of that. And then it's just a really, really brilliant episode all around. It's one of the best episodes I've ever seen, like single episodes ever. It's like top 15, top 10, like up there.
Yeah. Yeah, very, very well put. I like that. Yeah, the directing is great in this show. It definitely stepped it up in season 2, I think.
I got nothing else to talk about, so...
I was going to say, we're going to close it out with overall impressions of SNAFU, since we know that at the time when it ended, it had been officially caught up with the light novel. As of right now, the writer of SNAFU is finishing the series. He actually went on record to say he's 3 more light novels, and it's going to completely end the series. So what that means is there's going to be a season 3. It's not going to happen anytime soon, but I'm okay to wait for it because and you know what? If they never do make it, I'll actually go out and buy the damn things and read them because
buy the damn things and read them anyways.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, there's definitely going to be a season 3. It's going to take a while before. I think they have 2 books out right now. He's working on his last one, and that's going to end the series. All right, what's everyone's overall impression of SNAFU as a I guess like a series right for now?
Right now, as it is. Before, it's funny, like Hyoka dethroned SNAFU for my favorite like slice of life, and I only seen season 1 of SNAFU at the time. Like I gave Hyoka a 10 out of 10. I did a 40-minute review on it. That anime is special, but SNAFU, man, it's number 1 again. Like I can't I can't not give the number one slot to anything else at this time. SNAFU is just, it was an incredible experience from front to back. Even both of the studios did wonderful with what they had. The OVAs were something, but I'll tell you this: the OVAs were memorable, even though they were filler, which is weird. Like, and they weren't like anything special, but like those OVAs stick out in my mind. And when you can get an OVA that's pretty much filler to stick out into your mind, you know, and because this is the era of OVAs that don't mean jack shit. Like, frankly, OVAs these days are just fan service. So when the OVA does something special, like, you know, being as memorable as they were without technically not being as memorable and not being part of the main plot, like one of the best OVAs ever made, Black Lagoon, Roberta's Blood Trail. I mean,
that's an amazing one.
It's my favorite slice of life of all time currently. I don't think there's anything that comes close. Besides Hyoka, of course.
Satsuki?
Well, I have to agree with C-Tat, this one being the best slice of life anime I've seen. And I haven't seen that many, to be fair, but this show for me, even not comparing it to any other slice of life anime, is really, really close to being like a masterpiece, at least for me. Because one thing that I always look in a series is the character. And there's not a character I can really say that I dislike in a series. It may be a character where I disagree with what they're doing, but they all have a purpose. Even whatever her name is, who Hachiman had a crush on when he was in middle school.
Oh yeah.
I disliked her probably the most in the series, but even she, I felt like had a purpose in the show, and that just goes to show you the quality of this show. So for me, like I said, I feel like it's really close to being a masterpiece. So I think this is a pretty damn good show.
When it comes to me, I grew up watching anime. Didn't really know that they even made slice of life animes until, what was it, Clannad and Haruhi Suzumiya and all those ones. And I always felt like they were just not over exaggerations, but they were just like
super pretentious anime for people who may or may not be pretentious. Not generalizing.
Yeah. But when it comes to me, I gave this show a chance, and I just gave it a chance just because let's see what this is. I think the first season showed us what this anime could be, and the second season proved that it is something that can basically be remembered for years to come, not because of fan service, not because of stupid tropes and catchphrases,
not because of the Aroha meme,
not because of any memes, not because of any shit like that, but because of the plain fact that it is character based, the story is well written, and we see these characters grow as characters, not do stupid stuff that they wouldn't do just because the plot wants them to do it, but because of what needs to be done, or not needs to be done, but basically like that's their character growth, is going through these tribes and tribulations. And yes, I would definitely say that this is the best slice of life anime that I have ever seen, bar none. Better than any magical entity, better than any of that. And I used to watch a lot of blow 'em up sci-fis all the time, and it totally changed my life as basically saying that this is the future of anime. This is something that anime can do. And if more shows could learn from SNAFU and be more like SNAFU, we would have a lot more good shows, and we wouldn't have
grounded,
absolute
well-directed
crap.
with good writing.
Yeah.
Not
I mean,
tropes.
I know that sounds impossible, but there's
It
more
is.
of those. There's more of those than there are of shows like SNAFU. That's why when there is a show like SNAFU that comes out, everyone loves it. Go figure, right? It's very well in Japan, and it's very well. I mean, as far as I know, everybody likes it here, but it's doing very well in Japan.
You know, it's funny. Interestingly enough, Sentai on Twitter recently put out a poll, it wasn't a poll, but it was like some form you could fill out where it's like, all it was what anime you want them to dub. It could be anything. They don't have to own the license for it. They will get the license for it. And I think I've seen a lot of people mention they want a dub for SNAFU, and I was one of the people who was like, "Yo, you got to dub SNAFU." that was one I suggested.
I mean,
so we could be getting a dub soon. It's coming from Sentai, which is great because Sentai's pretty good at dubs now. Finally, took them 20 years.
I mean, I've already fell in love with these characters through the sub. I don't know if a dub would even do it justice, in my opinion, just because
I don't think that matters. I just think what matters is as long as people discover it and watch it. I think that's what...
I mean, I understand why dubs are out there, and I know why they serve their purpose, and I get that. But I guess speaking from me personally, I couldn't watch it dubbed just because I love these characters how they are subbed. You know what I mean?
I mean, I get that. Yeah, I get you're attached to the character. But
I mean, I could give it a shot if ever it does happen. I'll probably. I mean, I'm not trying to be a dub snob or whatever, but like I said, you just become attached to these. Like if it was a show that I didn't really care and it was trash to begin with, and for some reason they made it sound better with the dub, then I'm all for it. But I already love this show, and I feel like a dub. I don't know. Would it add anything? I don't know.
Well, my point wasn't would it be as good or better. My point was it would bring more eyes to it. The Western audiences would watch it because it's in their native language. So.
No, I got you.
That's my slant.
No, I got what you're saying. But yeah, that's it for the
Nakama Club episode 1.
I was about to say I don't remember what it was called, so thank you for that save.
King of Anime Podcast Sideshow thing. Sideshow Bob.
Mm-hmm. I'll put a link in the description for these two fine where you can find them.
We do anime.
I want to say they do anime. We do this. About naked, but
Satsuki is a solid 5, apparently.
And I keep my socks on. I keep my socks on now.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining, and until the next time, take care, everybody.
Can I say ya hello?
Yeah, hello.
You were saying goodbye. Why would you say hello?
Oh no, Merha.
No. Switch it to ya hello.
Merha, everybody.
Yeah, goodbye.
Merha.